There we go. Okay. I'm gonna hit start stream.
Press it again once you see it.
Once you see your feed right here,
Preview.
yep, you can hit start stream.
Okay, then it goes. Yeah, the previews.
Yep.
And then it
So
goes-
now it'll.
send it to the actual live.
Yeah.
And when we're reviewing this audio, which are we listening to, the live public view or the?
It'll be the live view. So.
I hear it right now.
Okay, so you got lots, right?
I know you like work, so.
I'm gonna try.
Talk about it. It looks
I
almost
don't do that very good. I'm gonna try.
Talk about it. It looks almost
I don't do that very good.
So we'll go ahead and get started, and we'll start with a pledge led by Brad Rink.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, very good. We'll go ahead and get started, and we do have Jason Trumbull sitting in for Dr. Brown tonight. Dr. Brown is traveling on school district business, and I'm not sure, Brad, I think we do have
One modification, if we could, like to add a supplemental personnel report to the consent, and that's a supplemental dated today.
and that's before you on the printed page. And we do have some folks signed up to speak, and we'll go ahead and do that now. Everybody's got 3 minutes, and you're going to hear about Ithaca High School hockey for a little bit, and we're always happy to do that. And Steve Gordon.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I believe that the approval of the coach is on the agenda tonight. I just wanted to express my support of Coach Zarek, Paul Zarek, who in my feeling and my wife's feeling as well, she would be here because she had to work, has been a leader on and off the ice, and brought really the team back together after a great deal of turmoil, and had a wonderful march to the state finals last year. And very supportive of his leadership and his managerial capabilities. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. And
That's me, Tom Hallisey. Thank you as well.
and there's another name. It's probably Steve.
That's his wife.
Steve, that's your wife. Yeah, very good. Okay,
Just
Tom,
really
there
the
you
same.
go.
Coach Zarek has coached both of my children. I've known him for the last 7 years. And, big fan, big supporter. He cares, he works hard, he tries. He really cares about the kids, and it's been a great experience. So I'm just here to support him as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. And Laura.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you again. I'm also here to support Coach Zarek. My son has been involved with the varsity hockey team for the full 3 years now that Paul was coach, and hopefully will be continuing coach. He has grown. We have watched all the boys grow. They have worked together as a team on and off the ice. We've done multiple community service programs that we have added in the past few years. The boys have come together off-season, and we just are really looking forward to continuing the same as we've had in the past. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Laura. And Mikhail? Ronan? Oh, there you go.
Paul.
There you go.
That's
Very
okay.
good.
Sorry, I have mine written down. I'm a Fall Creek teacher who, among many of my colleagues, is experiencing a lot of frustration about technology, and we want to let you know about it. The following is a list of some of the difficulties that have made the beginning of the school year, which is already rather demanding, scattered with impediments and to smooth transition and productive instruction. Many staff members are still unable to print anything at school. In fact, I had to ask a friend to print this for me. So all communications with parents, administrative papers, etc. Many staff members had to rewrite all of their initial letters and things for their families and materials for instruction because we couldn't access the ICSD teacher server. The K, first and second grade part of 16 older model MacBooks for more than 100 kids. Doesn't seem to have been looked at. They're filthy. Half of them disconnect or don't ever connect with the internet. Unfortunately, it's not the same predictable half. It's always different. You can imagine how a 5 to 8 year old child responds when the program they've been using stops suddenly. This happens more often than not. It makes it hardly seem worth trying sometimes. Programs say they need to be updated, but it won't let us update them. Last year, we ordered some iPad math apps that were supposed to go with some curriculum we were working on. It took weeks. We already finished the curriculum. And this year, we were looking forward to using it, and now we have to order all of the same ones again. Now that we don't have a library clerk, we don't have even the minor amount of support that was able to help the kids troubleshoot when there was a problem. I asked my colleagues for feedback or if they had anything to add, and one told me about her teacher assigned computer, which had been promised to be, it's broken, and she was promised a replacement last June, and she's starting the school year without one at all. Please understand that teachers value technology as a useful tool for engaging and expanding children's learning. We appreciate the efforts of our school librarian in trying to troubleshoot problems, but it isn't enough. We appreciate this district's vision of every child's facility with technological tools, and I hope you can see that this vision cannot be made a reality without proper supports that are immediate, if not close to. And without those supports, the simplest of any lesson involving computers in any way quickly breaks down into confusion and a lot of wasted time. So, thank you very much.
And Wayne Gottlieb.
Okay, thank you. I'm Wayne Gottlieb. I teach science, 7th grade science at middle school, and I also teach one class of technology. I love teaching technology, and I'm really happy that I get to teach them, especially since they're 6th graders. They're just starting middle school, and I get to teach them all the tools they'll need, so it's very exciting. It's also exciting to see them have to troubleshoot all the problems that come up because the technology isn't perfect. I was looking forward to teaching this year, and I went downstairs Thursday just to make sure the room was in order, because generally the IT department puts the room back together again after the custodians wax the floors, but nothing was put back together. There were wires all over the place, and I was teaching the next day, Friday, and so I thought, this is great, a teachable moment, my students get to put the computers back together. Well, it was fun for one day, and it was sort of fun on Monday when they continued, but I decided that I had to get back to teaching, and I found out that they wouldn't be able to come back to really put the room back together until Thursday. And so I said, forget it, and so I just stayed after school for a couple of hours and put the room back together myself. I don't think that should have happened. I was happy that the students got to experience what it's like to hook the computers up. They really enjoyed that. I'm still looking forward to teaching digital literacy. And to his credit, Dom Lisi came by today and looked over the room and talked to me about some other things that would be helpful. So I'm hoping that we'll have a long and prosperous relationship. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. And where are you
Connie.
Oh, me.
Oh, there you go.
Connie.
Oh, okay. Now we can read it.
Oh, sorry. My handwriting wasn't. I didn't
No,
realize
it's
it.
not.
He doesn't have his glasses
It's
on,
not.
so-
It's yeah, no, I don't need glasses, but yeah,
Yes, he
it's
does.
but Connie, it's great. It's
Nobody
great that
won't
you're
use
here
glasses.
today.
Thank you. This is my first experience with the school board, so hi everybody.
Hi, Connie.
Very nervous, but I'm a parent of Ithaca High School freshman Jordan Liu. The reason I'm here is actually started 2 weeks ago when we first received her class schedule. There was a mistake on her class schedule because she was assigned to this AP class for world history for the 9th grade, which is, I understand, a pilot class this year, started this year. So we followed the chain of command. She went to the guidance council trying to correct this, and she came back saying that no, it's not possible. So I started having this conversation with guidance council and started my experience working with Ithaca High School. I followed the chain of command because I started with her counselor, Ms. Murphy, and then the department head, Mr. Jones. I was told because of the budget reason, no class is available. Because this being a pilot class, therefore they are not willing to raise the cap to increase enrollment. Then I talked to Mr. Power actually Monday. Same message was delivered, which I understand because from the school administrator standpoint, they need to look at the balance between the budget and the resources. Tough decision is to be made, but I'm here to make a plea. Jordan is not the only one. There are 11 kids out there who were assigned to this very important class, a pilot class, I understand, but this helped to establish their foundation to move forward. And the reason I'm here today is because my daughter, she's determined to be successful. She really wants to do a good job. She felt that she's being held back. And I was told by Mr. Power that $24,000 is standing between those 11 kids and this AP class. That's the reason, financial reason, strictly financial reason, he couldn't do it. I also had a conversation with Mr. Zhong. He said that there is also a physical limitation to the classroom. The classroom itself cannot fit another student physically because of the limitation of the size. So to be honest, I'm a little disappointed with the way decision gets made, that it's administrative convenience over the best interest of the student. And believe me, I read every single paperwork that my daughter brings back. I mean, the package, that big package you mail, I read all of them. And in that, I see the letter from Dr. Brown, which I, by the way, sent a letter to him as well, that he told my daughter, you are important. School district is going to do the best to support you. So I'm here, I'm making a plea. Please look into how decisions being made in Ithaca High School. 11 students may not be a big piece of pie comparing to all the students you need to worry about, but please, those students were assigned to this AP class. They have the potential, and I can't really speak for the other 11, I mean the other 10 because of HIPAA. I'm not privy to the information of who other families are, which I totally understand, but I'm here. There is a very eager 9th grader, Jordan Liu. She really would like to do well in school, and I'm here as her parent. I'm making a plea. Please look into that. Please. Thanks.
Thanks. And Adam.
Yes, hi, good evening. As you know, I spoke on opening day about the silent auction that ITA is doing. All but 2 of the items have had bids and are off to the owners to claim. However, there are still 2 bids that need at least a minimum bid, and that is open until Friday. So anybody can contact the ITA office and make a bid, and that will go to the winner on Friday. Again, all proceeds will be used to purchase school supplies to go to other schools, not just BJM. To put them in the hands of the teachers and in the backpacks of our students. As you know, it's been a little, not even quite full a week yet of students, but we have hit a week of teachers being here, plus all the time that they were working on over the summer. And it takes a lot of time and energy just to start a new year with new classes and with new students. And so having some challenges with technology, challenges with fitting in rooms and things like that, those are things that just make it even harder. And even though we do our really best, we do our best to not make it impact the kids, sometimes it does start to seep in, and that's what's hard to see. Hopefully these things get resolved and we don't have them going into the future, and maybe we can get stuff reinstated so that we don't have to be speaking about these things at the beginning of every school year. Just a little comment about some safety, and I will come to the facilities meeting. Sometimes, whether it's the real deal or even just a drill, as required by law, when there is an announcement to do a lockdown or to go into some type of dangerous weather kind of situation, not all spaces have the speakers. So last school year, I was in one of the guidance suites when the announcement was made, and we didn't know, and we started walking out of the room. And then this one that just happened last week, I was actually in with an administrator in their space, and we didn't know. The only reason we found out was because of a text on his administrator phone. And then I luckily was with him, so I knew. So it's just something to look into. Not all the spaces have it. In guidance suites, you're having private conversation with students. Administrator suites, you're having conversations with staff members and teachers. So the doors are going to be closed, which means that is the way it should be. We can't leave doors open all the time. So just so you know that I've been caught in that situation twice, and I know that many other people have as well if they're in those spaces. Yes, the cuts are alive and well, and as you can hear, there are impacts. I hopefully you're listening to know that the decisions that are made, and even if there was no input when the decisions were made, that doesn't mean that they were always the best interest. So now I'm hoping you're hearing as to what it does to us in the classroom. For example, the librarians are working on how to figure out a schedule with their classrooms. And do you do literacy and media literacy with first graders every week now, or is it sorry, I'm a half-time clerk, I'm a half-time librarian, I just can't do that anymore, you have to sign up. So they're working on that, but that doesn't mean that's what's in the best interest. of our students. And also just, a couple other examples are we have some classes of 31, 28 in the secondary rooms. And, that's kind of bordering on small lecture halls, so we just got to watch those things as well. You can't get to the students as much when you have 31 students sitting in front of you. I guess my last comment would make is that even though I don't represent the aides and teachers' aides, when we make cuts to them, you're looking at less aides in the buildings to cover the recess and the lunch. And so as of right now, I know that there are teachers who have things in their schedules that say duty, and they're either being ignored or there's no answer because it's not supposed to be there. So I will work with Matt and Jason on that in the next couple of days. So a cut to teachers' aides and aides does not mean you can do something to the teachers to pick up that work when it's not part of their assignment. So just I'm glad to see that there's plenty of IT members here speaking up about decisions that were made last spring. Thank you.
And Judy Blood.
Hi, my name is Judy Blood. I teach 4th grade at the Enfield Elementary School. I've taught there, I'm starting my 15th year. I think I'm the only teacher at Enfield who's been there for 15 years in the same classroom with the same grade, so I bring you that experience. I'm here to tell you that Enfield School had a fabulous start of the school year. The walls are newly painted, they're bright and cheery. The kids came in, they were enthusiastic. I heard one kid walking down the hall the first day of school saying, "I love this place." So I just want you to know that we're off to a fabulous start there. I appreciate all the attention that was put there by the custodial staff over the summer, all the energies that were put in weeks before school begins by all the elementary school teachers. It's kind of a bustling beehive kind of a place the week before school, because everyone is there, everyone is working, everyone is getting their space set up and brightly decorated and ready for their children. So it's really an exciting place. And then of course the anticipation is much like that of awaiting guests at your house. You continue to get ready for your guests until they ring the doorbell, and they're finally there and you can stop getting ready, if you will, and start the business of teaching. So that actually began for us on Tuesday. It was terribly, terribly exciting. The kids are jazzed, the teachers are jazzed, and we're having a great start. So thank you for all that you've done to make that possible. And of course, we are not beyond the budget cuts. Even though we're far out into the country, the budget cuts still affect us at the Enfield Elementary School. When I left this evening at about 6 to come down here for the board meeting, the 2 pre-K teachers were still there in their classrooms, anxiously and nervously awaiting the start of tomorrow when all pre-K students will be in the classroom. Half came yesterday, half came today. Tomorrow all come. One of the teachers said to me, "It was all we could do with myself and one aide to manage half of my class. I don't know what we're going to do come Wednesday." So keep them in your prayers and your thoughts this evening, because they won't be sleeping. They'll be nervousing over the evening and getting themselves ready. So that cut is one that has at least 2 of our staff members really, really concerned. And I hate to sound redundant, but the library clerk piece is a really huge issue. Our library clerk signed out, signed in, made overdue slips, chased down kids, did all of that kind of work in the library while the librarian taught in the library. And so now she's conflicted. Where does she spend her time? Does she spend it in the instructional mode, or does she spend it in the clerical mode? And how does she split herself in half and do 2 jobs really as one person without cutting the program and the services that she's provided for those children? Lastly, and I feel almost foolish mentioning this, but I must. The clocks have not worked at the Enfield Elementary School since last March. Today, band lessons began. The children were jubilant about getting to play a band instrument for the first time. 9 of my students signed up for band. Each of them was asking me, "When do I go? When do I go?" I spent all day looking at my watch, trying to make sure that they were going to their band lessons on time. I have no idea why the clocks are not repaired. I know that work orders have been placed, but nothing has been done. So I feel silly when I'm looking at big issues like technology and so forth. There's so many things in public education over which we have no control. Can we please have our clocks box work. Oh, thank you. And we're on the
Amen. Amen.
Anyone else wish to speak at this time? Now is that time. If not, we'll move on, and thanks everyone. And student reps. And Lisa, go ahead.
Okay. Wing Crew on September 4th went through orientation day where freshmen bonded with their leaders and crew, got a tour of the school, and learned what high school is all about. Transfer students also were introduced to Ithaca that day. Thanks to the Wing Crew program, freshmen and transfers were transitioned smoothly into the high school. Last Friday, we started the school year off with a lockdown at the high school. Students stayed in their first period for about 3 hours. But there was no need to fear. By having the lockdown, students were able to talk and connect with new classmates. Lunch was not an issue because pizza was carted to individual classrooms. Students even had fun during the lockdown, quietly playing games or watching movies. Despite the lockdown, school has continued smoothly with freshmen and upperclassmen transitioning well into the new year.
Thank you, Lisa. As of September 5th, school has started. Ready, set, success. We have over a dozen new staff members. I can tell already they're fabulous persons and will fit greatly in at Ithaca High School. The site-based council welcomed them with baked goods. Very nice. Multiple new courses offered at the high school. We had, here's one amazing example, a new AP class, psychology offered. 4 sections, first year. Wow, incredible. Multicultural studies through film went up 60% in one day. Wow. To echo what Miss Blood said, painted new paintings as far as the classrooms, making classrooms a temple of learning. Absolutely beautiful. Sports are on the field. Almost every sport has had a game and will have a game. Please support our Little Red Sports program. And our clubs, our excellent clubs, are coming back into session. And that's all for tonight.
Thanks, Connor. Thanks, IHS. And I believe we have LACS here.
Yes, we do. I'm Adrian Clavel. I'm a senior at LACS. On September 4th, we had our new student orientation where we had 44 new 6th graders, a 7th grader, and a 9th grader. And it was all run by WHAM, which is our Welcoming Allies and Mentors program, where students usually of 9th or 10th grade up will come in and we'll show the kids around, give them a tour of the school, and throughout the entire school year, we'll be checking up on them at least once a week, just to see how they're doing, and I think it's just wonderful. We are having our Stewart Park picnic next Monday. That's 6, I believe, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. Always so much fun every year. I am actually only here as an interim because we didn't have a chance to have elections yet, but we'll have them soon, and I'll have a second helper then too.
Very good, thanks. And we look forward to both of you in the future. And board responses, anyone at this time? Brad, then Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect Jason's got an answer tonight, but I'd just like to hear about the AP question that was brought up. And I mean, if we've got 11 kids looking for another section, let's see if we can't figure that out. I'd like to hear what the situation is there. If you get back to us on that. Okay. Jason, are the technology issues at Fall Creek, is that widespread throughout the district, or is that more a Fall Creek isolated problem? I'm asking you only because it was an elementary school and Dom's not here, so.
I couldn't answer. I think Dom would be the person to
Some of us could answer.
But the issues that you outlined, work orders open for a year, et cetera, that's the reason the whole IT department was overhauled and completely changed. That just happened.
So hopefully that'll get caught up with in the next few weeks. And clocks, interestingly enough, Judy, we discussed those at facilities last night.
Thank you.
So we are aware.
I discuss them daily.
Do you? Yeah, I can tell. I can tell. But we did actually discuss that last night at facilities.
Sundials don't always work in Enfield, Judy, right? I mean, it's hard to tell.
Not in Ithaca.
Yeah, I know. It's that rural
Sundial's a
valley.
bad idea in Ithaca.
Yeah. But certainly, there's much happening with the energy performance contract. We are doing a lot within that, and we're talking about clocks within that. And really redoing all the clocks in the district, basically. But that's going to be an outlet, an avenue, an outlet, an opportunity for us to do a lot of projects within the district without having to rely on going to the general operating budget. So the EPC, you're going to see a lot about that. We're actually going to be voting on, we will review it, but we will be voting on a contract at our next meeting, and that will involve the bathrooms at the high school and lighting upgrades, throughout the district. We're looking at clocks. We're looking at the pool at the high school. All these things will be, hopefully, we will be able to address those issues in this energy performance contract. Anything that runs with power, we're going to be able to hopefully address within this. So it is quite interesting in how many projects we can bring into this, and so we'll have more details in a few weeks.
And I appreciate Adam's comment about enunciators. I was unaware that we had sections of the building without any kind of speakers. We can add that to the list.
Right.
I just was unaware.
Chris, you had.
I wanted to start by thanking Judy for the start to a great year. I love your enthusiasm. I just want to echo something Brad's been saying for the last 3 months. The budget cuts were real, folks. We made no bones about it. We weren't saying this to say it, and unfortunately, we tried to do our best to spread it out evenly, not target any specific area. But what he's said, and a lot of folks have said, is we've got to target and talk to our politicians about the gap elimination. We're seeing it, we're feeling it, it's real, and if we don't speak up, we'll be here again. Yes. And I'm not saying that to be doom and gloom, but just to be realistic. So please remember this time and speak up. That's honestly all I've got to say.
And I'll just follow up, Chris. We overrode the tax levy limit to a large extent, to about as far as we could push it. We were able to garner this over the 60% to pass that budget last year. We can't do that every year. We can't vote to override the tax levy limit. That's going to be a big ask of the community. We are pushing. We are meeting with senators. So Brad and I and the superintendent representing the board met with Senator O'Mara down in Elmira, taking time out of our day to go to Elmira to talk to him and say, hey guys, this gap elimination must end. It has to end now. So we will be meeting with
Senator Lifton.
Exactly, next week to go on the other side of the aisle and the other part of the House in Albany. We need help. It can't just be Brad and me going to and complaining. If you are feeling these cuts, it is because of the GEA. Governor Cuomo is taking money out of this district and he is redirecting it somewhere else. It is money that is designated for this district through the state foundation aid formula. They create it, they write the rules. They are taking it back. If you don't like it, tell them. Don't vote for Cuomo if you don't like it, but don't vote for the others if you don't like it. So it's this. They are our representatives. They work for us. And they need to create a new way to pay for what they need to pay for. You were hearing that there is big budget surpluses at the state level, a $4.2 billion settlement from a bank. Was it 4.2? Yeah. Yes, it was 4.2 billion added on to the $2 billion that Cuomo is touting that he has created in the budget, the state budget. So they need to eliminate it now. They will not do it unless they are forced to do so. So they would like to keep it going for a bit longer so they can send more money elsewhere. So we are tired of talking about it, but we will talk about it until it goes away. So it's there is a reason there are less pre-K classrooms in this district, and it's because the state took state aid away and limits our ability to raise money at the local level. So we're glad to hear you, and we're glad to talk about it, but there comes a point when we need to tunnel transfer your voices to Albany. That is where this will be solved. Just to hopefully make that clear one more time. But anyone else? If no one else, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
I'll move the consent as presented.
Second.
And Brad, if I'm not mistaken, as always, the personnel report, as various personnel reports are in there.
Yep.
And we'll go ahead.
Just for those who weren't at facilities, there are a couple of change orders having to do with the gym floor. You recall the discussion of it being not quite level. So there's a little bit of work that had to be done there. And then also you'll recall the long-standing issue of drainage and some water getting into the gym, under the gym floor. There's a change order here to correct that as well. And we are hopeful that this will be the last time we'll have to talk about it.
And level in that the floor from 1960 isn't level. The subfloor, not the new floor, will be fine.
New
but
floor.
Yeah, it's not the question. That's not.
Surprisingly, it did not settle equally over the course of 50 years.
Yeah. I mean, who knew? It's on a flip plane. But
Do you know when it's supposed to be done?
October 10th.
that's the drop dead date. They have to be done by then. So anything else at this time? All in favor? That's everyone, and for the IHS hockey folks, certainly Coach C was on the personnel report along with the other coaches for hockey, and that has been approved. So just so you know, it's not right on here. So there you go. And superintendent's report, and I think Jason, after much ado, we're ready for you.
Yes. A couple pieces I wanted to start off with. Having been a professional in this community for 23 years and a member of this district for 23 years, whether it be a teaching capacity, coaching capacity, or administrator as I am today, always felt a sense of calm when I saw students walk into the schools. The anxiousness and getting ready for the school was the worst part. But in all those roles, I can honestly say and look around this room and really appreciate and say thank you to everybody that's in this room and everybody that came to represent our fine community to say that we're out there working for the kids every day. And the budget realities are what they are, but we're going to draw together. And regardless of whatever role I've been in, we're going to draw together and make this the greatest district that we can for our children. I say this to Adam, I say this to others, that we are going to work together, and folks bringing concerns here to this table and to the principal's desk and the Matt's desk, my desk, those things. That's how we work through these things and continue to make it right for kids. So I just wanted to start with that, and I really want to say, most importantly, beyond my years here in this district as a father of 3 children in this district, it means an awful lot to me to make sure we have excellence in this community all the time. So I wanted to start off with that piece. The second piece I wanted to announce tonight in the superintendent's report, Lisa took all my wind on that one, and I very much appreciate your perspective in terms of how you outline the events at the school on Friday. Yes, we began school last week, and for a young man who used to cry every first school day from kindergarten on to 7th grade, I can't believe I said that on TV, to be honest with you. But no, school meant an awful lot to me, and the people that I came into contact with every single day meant an awful lot to me. And we didn't have a typical first day at Ithaca High School, but I will say we did in response to how folks responded in that community, and it gets back to what I was saying earlier. That yes, shortly after school began Friday morning, we had evidence of something that didn't belong in school. And we had to take necessary precaution to make sure that everybody was safe all the time. And it took some time, about 3 hours, but the patience, the diligence of the staff, the urgency that folks brought to it, the community response around it, I said it to the media on Friday, it was truly amazing. That it continues to remind us of what a special community that we do have. To see teachers teaching at the conclusion of the day in 7th and 8th period, and classes moving as normal, and 1,400 students assembling on their buses in an orderly fashion, about a 95-degree day, was a nice sense of calm. That doesn't mean we relax in terms of making sure our schools are safe all the time. And we're going to continue to do that and make sure that we have protocols in place that we are safe all the time. And that's a lot about what we're going to talk about tonight in our larger presentation on how we build positive school climates. So I think with that, I think we're ready to move on to that piece, Mr. Hanson.
Sounds good, Jason. Let's do it.
For that part of the school district business, if I could invite our colleagues to come forward, please. We've got a quick presentation. Should have enough seats up here in the front. Our objective was to outnumber the board.
Didn't do it.
Go 1-1. You're right, Jay. Thank you.
But good try.
One of the great things about being a principal for a long time in the district that I would share with my colleagues, and many of my colleagues sitting at this table share this same feeling each day when they walk into their classrooms in their building, when they walk into their cafeterias, when they stand outside by the buses, when they see their kids dismissed at the end of the day, to see all the great things that are happening in schools all the time. And it's particularly important around this time of school, at the beginning of the school year. Oftentimes when I meet with parents and say, how are your experiences going? And as a long-time middle school guy, when 6th grade folks would say to me, so far it's going okay. And I would quickly respond with, it's going to go okay for the remainder of your time, and certainly to 9th grade parents as well. And folks will constantly ask me, how do we create this magic that happens in school? How do we have such great climates in all of our school buildings? That's kind of the neat thing that I get to see in my vantage point. Matt and I marvel at that all the time, dropping into both the elementary and secondary buildings, whether we go together, go individually with Bob and with Amanda or with Louvel, to go in and see the great things that are happening. So where does this magic happen? How does it start? There's all kinds of ways to think about what a positive school climate is. And like I said, when we start going into one another's buildings, what we don't oftentimes do is get the opportunity to share what's happening. So while our building leaders get to walk into each other's classrooms, very rarely do they get to walk into each other's buildings. So we thought it prudent at this time to maybe talk a little bit about, from a building leadership standpoint, what are some of the factors that go into contributing to this positive school climate. District-wide, we have a number of things that kind of act as umbrellas, if you will. We've got some mandatory pieces that we have, district safety plans and building safety plans. Right now, we currently work with a gentleman by the name of Jim Drew through our local BOCEs, who not only is an architect, he's also kind of a safety expert and is well-versed in working with emergency response teams as well as building climate surveys. The Facilities Committee is well aware, and I think the larger board as a whole is well aware that we're creating drafts of vulnerability studies, looking at what we can do to continue to increase our building safety climates around the Ithaca City School District. There's a new expression out there called BLERT, Building Level Emergency Response Teams. Every building has its own response team. Every building has goes through really 3 phases. How do we prevent anything from happening in our building? What happens? How do we respond to something? And how do we recover if something were to happen? There's all kinds of training that goes into that. So those are 2 mandatory pieces that we have. Amanda's our DASA expert, if you will, and she's agreed to say a couple of pieces on there in terms of the regulatory pieces around DASA.
So I'm Amanda Verba. I'm the school district business official, which also seems a little odd that I might be talking about the Dignity Act. So a year ago I was eager to come to Ithaca and become the position that I am, but before that, for 10 years, I worked with a number of districts across New York State and beyond around bullying prevention, harassment prevention. I was able to watch this development of what is now called the Dignity Act for all students. It is a state law enacted in 2010 and then taken actually into effect 2011. And I've been able to work with the district from the very beginning to be able to develop the protocols that really not just respond to the law and the requirements of the law, but also to create a culture where we stand up, where we become upstanders around bullying and harassment and discrimination, taunting, teasing, all the things that might run on the continuum of disrespect and lack of dignity. And so I've been very happy to see all the efforts that have gone into this in all the buildings. I've worked with all the principals here, both here and before this job. And this is just serving a little bit of reminder, and so I'm going to just be brief. But this law really is about prohibiting acts of harassment and bullying, including cyberbullying, on all of our school property, all of the school buses and vehicles, and any school-sponsored events. And this is really a law that protects students, and it also looks to employees to be responsive. It's almost like that we're mandated reporters when we see these things. It really is about not just actual but perceived issues. So there's some protections in the law around just things that we believe about people versus just what's actual. So that's really a good expansion of some of the prior efforts before this law. And it includes, and I'm going to sort of go through the list, race, color, weight, national origin, ethnic group, religion, religious practice, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, and or sex, and many other things as well. So really it's about ensuring that learning can happen in buildings that feel safe and accepting. And that's really the essence. Every student has a right to learn in that sort of climate and that sort of culture. It really, again, everybody can make a report. There is a common Dignity Act reporting form that is found almost on every single school building website, but also on the district website as a whole. There's a tab on the side. If you click on that for the Dignity Act, they'll have all the different reporting documents there. Again, school employees are sort of mandated under this law to make reports if we see it or hear about it or witness it. Students, parents, and caregivers and community members are also welcome to fill out that form if they know about events that are happening in our schools to alert us. After you make a report, what happens is that's kicked up to the Dignity Act coordinator. The law requires that every single building have a coordinator that is specific to that building that looks at that report and follows through to do an investigation to see if it's founded or unfounded. And even if it's not founded, we still are required by law to try to ensure safety and to ensure a climate of caring in our buildings. And you can find all the names of those Dignity Act coordinators again on the website if you're unsure. Most places it's either the building level principal, the school social worker, or an assistant principal or associate principal. After the reports happen, as I said, there's in the student handbooks, and there's both the elementary and the secondary. Specifically in the secondary, there's actually a flow chart that we go through. So this is really a protocol that we adhere to through all the buildings.
Certainly given that in the umbrella pieces or the regulatory pieces of the building level and district level safety plans, that doesn't set the tone for that building culture. These leaders do, and the programs and the way they come about it, and this is what transforms education here. So yes, we have regulatory compliance and protocols, but that doesn't set the tone. So we've asked our folks, now we'll start with our elementary group, and then move to secondary and show you a little bit of data in terms of what we're seeing. I'm sorry.
Just before we get into their presentation,
yes.
Just a quick question. Amanda, I remember when you came to present, wearing your other hat, and we talked, I think that was at La Tourelle, we discussed then, DASA's regulatory focus seemed to be on buildings only. And you reinforced that tonight by saying buildings. So we've made an explicit effort here to shift a lot of what happens, good experiences with our children to extracurricular activities. So it doesn't sound like the regulatory environment has evolved to cover athletics, to cover arts, to cover all of the dozens of other ways our children interact in circumstances where they can profoundly affect each other by acting in a discriminatory way in all of the ways that you mentioned. So I'm curious about that.
So the Dignity Act does extend to school-sponsored activities and events. It also extends to school-sponsored activities outside of school. So if we go on a field trip, this is also covered. In phase 1 was 2011. The following year, they responded to exactly what you're talking about, and they included also the cyberbullying world. So the law now requires that if we think or we should know about things that are happening at home, even with young people that would affect their school day, kids don't leave things at the door or through our buildings. We know that, and into our activities and events. the law does require that we also look into those as well.
So we have people as qualified as these fine folk to discuss how we're implementing that outside of the building.
That is correct, and we just like with the health and safety plans, we also contract with TSD BOCES as well to provide support for that. We have staff development opportunities, direct to young people opportunities. We partner with folks in buildings to do that relationship building and that building of competency to step up, to step in and to do something.
Why don't we turn it over to elementary folks, talk a bit about the relationships in building that positive culture.
Great, so I'm going to start on behalf of the Caroline community and talk about PBIS behavior, positive behavior interventions. I want to say that the foundation for us to do this work is instruction and teachers committed to engaging students with engaging curriculum, thoughtful instruction, thoughtful professional learning community work. And so that's the foundation. And layered on top of that, at Caroline is a dedicated team of volunteers that's composed of teachers, teaching assistants, a teaching aide, parents, a student, and they're in their third year. We are in the third year of planning and rolling this at Caroline. Thank you for that sound effect. So I want to make sure that I thank that team because they've really done a tremendous amount of work in rolling this out. So what it looks like when you come to Caroline and you walk in a classroom, you'll see a document that's present in every room that has the tenets of be safe, be responsible, be respectful, and it's a living document. So every classroom community is going to have a thoughtful conversation in the first week of school of what a safe and productive learning community looks like. The students articulate it in their words, and the process that the teacher and the instructor leads students through is powerful. And so it's a document, it's a living document. You'll see that it's different verbs are crossed out and added and changed as students' thinking evolves throughout the school year. It sounds like a common language of redirection that's focused on what you want to see. So you'll hear students redirect one another. Like today, there was a group of kindergartners coming in, and I heard a child say, "Slow your body down. Remember the Paul law. Yesterday you ran into me." And so I appreciate that. Or as I was moving very quickly through the hallway, a student stopped me and said, "No running." And I stopped, and they said, "I mean, please walk." And so that's what it sounds like, is really thoughtful communication. So there's been tremendous gains at the school this year, and it's evidenced by a decrease in the number of referrals at recess and throughout the day. I think a shared understanding among staff about discipline for learning, not discipline for punishment, that really excites me. And then today we had a world expert in play, Morgan Sector Laxby, who's working at the Ithaca Children's Garden, and she came to just observe recess. And her first comment when we left was, "Wow, I don't know. I've observed dozens of playgrounds, and I don't know if I've ever heard so many adults talk to children with such intention in a caring redirection." She said, "I don't think I heard no, but I heard, remember the bylaws, or what, are we still in agreement about this from last year?" So that's a small slice of what it looks like, but I welcome you to Caroline to see for yourselves.
Thanks.
I'm Brad Pollock. I'm the principal at Ithaca Heights Elementary School, affectionately known as Chess. I want to show you a 3-minute movie that my psychologist at the school, our psychologist, Lori Willick, helped me assemble this. So I'll narrate. That's our bulldog. His name is Champ, and you'll see Champ throughout our PBIS movement. The Chess Pledge for Success is something we recite every morning after we say the Pledge of Allegiance, and that poster is hung on every room in every classroom. And then we break that down and we say these are the behaviors we're looking for in the hallway, in the bathroom, out in the cafeteria, and recess. We talk about voice levels. And we explicitly teach what it is that we want to celebrate. What you're looking at here are town meetings, grade level town meetings. Teachers nominate students for Chess Champ Awards. And we invite parents to that award ceremony once a month. And then teachers talk about what the student did to earn a Chess Champ Award. And that's our mascot, Champ. It was a big hit with our student body.
I thought that was you in the outfit.
No, we usually rope student teachers into doing that. So,
That's what they're for, right?
sometimes Champ is tall and sometimes Champ is small. So, what you're seeing me being silly doing right now is called the turnaround dance. So when a student who's behaved poorly earlier in the year makes some wise choices, I celebrate by doing the turnaround dance, which is a big hit. People like seeing me look foolish. In the beginning of the year, or also at the grade level town meetings, we talk explicitly about what we expect. So we teach what we expect, and then we celebrate what we want to see. And each month we have different themes. The theme of the month for September is community. We have themes like friendship, dedication, perseverance. There's a school-wide assembly. We're all wearing our chess shirts with a bulldog on the back. And I really feel like the school community has embraced the concept of what we're trying to do. That we're all part of the community and we all follow common language. This is actually from today, talking with my third graders about what kind of year we're going to have and telling them shockingly that they were actually in charge of the school, not me. So I know that was a little radical, but that's what I want people to understand. That the kind of school year we have depends on what kind of school year our students want to have. This is the teachers acting like children.
How's it going? What did you get on question 2 of the math test?
What math test? We haven't had that.
You were sleeping.
Fellas, I'm going to need you to use voice 2. And that's at the volume where people near you can hear you, so the bus drivers can concentrate. Now let's talk about how great PE is.
And here we are, again, at the end of the month. On a Friday in September, we'll have our first Chess Champ Award, and I really would cordially invite all of you to come and see the celebration. And one of the reasons why, one of the main points behind the Chess Champ Awards is to invite parents so that students can be proudly and publicly acknowledged, and we can reinforce for all of our students what we want our school to look like. So whether you're in kindergarten or you're in 5th grade, the messages are the same. Kids hear the same thing. We speak in a common language in terms of what we expect and what we want to celebrate.
I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what Brad talked about in terms of having kids really in charge of creating the climate and positive environment that they want to see at school. So I'm Jeff Tomasic. I'm the principal at Northeast Elementary School. I'm going to talk briefly about the Friendship Assistance Brigade, and really all credit to this program goes to Celia Clement, our school social worker. But we really want our kids creating and owning and understanding that positive environment. So what we do is we have this club that's open to everyone in 4th and 5th grade. We usually get about 50 to 60% of the kids. It's a rotating membership, so if you don't want to come one week, you're always welcome to come the next. And what they do is they're really, in a lot of ways, on the pulse of the school in terms of social dynamics, like what's going well at recess, what are little problem spots. And we really like to address problems when they're really small. Like for instance, something as small as like kids are budging in line. Like that will actually be an agenda item, and we want to deal with things before they escalate. Or So it doesn't have to be a huge crisis. So what they do is that group meets with the social worker, and they devise a plan, like, so what are they going to do at recess, at lunch, in the hallways to address this, or just kind of, do we need to have like a special meeting with these kids? Should the classroom teachers be involved or not? And then they go out and they live their lives, and then the next week they're checking in, so how did that go? Are those kids still budging in line, or whatever the issue we're working on is. They're more than just a pulse on the school. One of their also they consider themselves friendship connectors. We have kids moving in and out of the school on and off all year, and one of their jobs is to be the eyes and ears along with the adults, like what kids seem a little bit disenfranchised at recess, or hey, they were playing with someone these 2 days, but now it looks like they're off by themselves, what's going on? And they'll try and include the kid. Sometimes the reasons why a child might not be participating are a bit complicated, so it's not all on the kids, but they'll bring that back to Celia, and then she, figures out, okay, we get the families involved, we get the teachers involved, or she might intervene with the kid as well. A third thing they do, and this is something that I know a lot of schools do, but they're trained to be upstanders. So they're trained if they see something going on at recess, and again, we're really big on, like, it could be something, these kids were invited to someone's house, and it looked like the person who was inviting it did it in a way that they might have sort of been advertising it and kind of excluding in sort of a subtle way, like, well, Johnny and Sally are coming to my house on Saturday, but Fred, who's over here, you're not invited. So it could be something as subtle as that, those social dynamics. A recess aide, a teacher probably isn't going to pick that up, frankly, but because this is kids leading kids, that stuff comes to our attention, and we work on things such as that as well. So I think it's a great program. It really gets kids in charge of helping create and maintain that positive climate. The last thing I'll say, then I'll be quiet, is that at the younger grades, when similar things come up, like for instance, we had an issue, we have kids from all over the world at Northeast, and a few of our kids weren't being as kind as they needed when kids were bringing different meals from home that might look a little different than the meals that they were bringing from their house. So we had the Fab kids went into those grade levels, and they actually created skits with Celia where they role played, like, this is an appropriate way to handle it, this is not an appropriate way. If you handled it this way, how do you think that child might feel, as opposed to if you handled it that way? So there's actually a whole role playing component to this as well, where the older kids are going to they're teaching younger kids about how we want to be at Northeast School, and to me that's a really good sign that this is internalized when the kids have become teachers. And at that juncture,
talk about some secondary strategies from two of our colleagues.
Thank you. That's going to be a tough act to follow, so I guess I will try to pick up on that because of that nice little video that Mr. Park put together from chess. Anyway, I like that. My name is Mac Knight. For those who do not know me, I'm the principal of middle school. And when Mr. Trummer told me I had about 3 minutes to talk about creating a positive climate for the school year, I said, wow, that's all I get, 3 minutes? I just noticed my esteemed colleagues have taken more than 3 minutes, so I try to be brief and stick with the time that I was given. Anyway, for those of you who have visited Whitman School,
it is
competitive. What's that?
It is competitive.
Mac, you can talk as long as you want.
We're in front of the president, so I witness. Anyway, if you ever visited Whitman Middle School, you'll notice this big banner hanging over the building which says, and I'm not going to test you now, but y'all should know what it says because y'all been there. There you go. Jay knows what it says. Circle of Courage. Within the Circle of Courage, it has 4 primary principles of belonging, generosity, mastery, and independence. The one that's most important to us is the belonging one, because anyone who set foot into the Whitman Middle School, whether just a visit or whether you're going to stay for 3 years, 1 day, or 5 minutes, want you to walk away with a feeling of belonging, that you had an exceptional day with the staff there and with the culture and the climate of the middle school. So within developing this sense of belonging, we have this mantra. Every day during our announcement, we say, DeWitt is a place where everybody belongs, and every day is an opportunity for success at DeWitt Middle School. Where everybody belongs actually came from an acronym from a program called WEB. WEB program is a transition orientation program where our 7th and 8th graders are recommended by teachers, and they also can volunteer to be a part of orientation for our incoming 6th graders as well as for our 7th and 8th grade new entrants. So I have with me a web shirt. So if you see any of our 7th and 8th graders walking around DeWitt with this, that means they are our web leaders and they are welcoming our 6th graders. And this is not just for the first day the first week, this is also throughout the year. There's a lot of activities that the web leaders create with their web advisors to make sure that relationships are ongoing. Again, we feel very proud about valuing relationships. We feel that anything that we do, relationships at the epicenter of what all the decisions that we make at the middle school. In addition to that, we have what we call class talks, no, teacher talks. Teacher talks are smaller units of instructions where the teachers meet in advisory groups, which are normally called home base. We talk about some of the things that Mr. Trummer mentioned about the DASA, about some of this code of conduct. And this is a book that we give them. It's their planner as well as user-friendly versions of our expectations about behaviors and some of the rules. So I pass that around for folks to take a look at while I talk, okay? That's in our teacher talk. A broader one is similar to what I think Mr. Pollock was alluding to, he called grade level assemblies. We call those class talks. In the class talk, we kind of do what Mrs. Grover said with the positive behavior support. So we're not as technological, as astute as my colleagues. So here's a version of our positive behaviors and support that we have posted in every room, every wall. And so the class talks, the administrators as well as other support staff such as the social worker, psychologist, a nurse, family liaison, administrator, tutor, and principal, all meet the students and define our respective roles with them and greet them and kind of go over in terms of what the expectation of the school. This kind of replaced when I removed in-school suspension. Removed that because we just felt that in-school suspension was not a place where teaching and learning took place. And it was to get the mindset out of people that punishment was not a place for poor choices or bad decisions made by students. And so we want to replace that with what kind of teachable moment we can make with those students during those particular occasions. Currently, we're working on the word detention. We took all negative language out of the school as we possibly could do. So instead of having detentions, we call it reflections. And so students will go, when they are removed from a class, it's a reflection time. As part of our APPR, we as professionals are often called to reflect on our practice and what we do to learn and grow. So why not use the same thing with our students in the classroom about some of the choices they make? So instead of calling it detention time, we call it reflection time. And so writing assignment that goes along with that, we give the students a chance to review his or her choices. And from the writing assignments, we intervene, talk a little bit about it, and replace that with some positive choices or some positive interventions. We follow it up 2 or 3 days later, or as many days as needed, to make sure that the student is actually applying those in his or her daily interaction during the school day. Also, we have a group called Healthy Relationships that is composed of students who keep ongoing activities throughout the year that to bond our students across grade levels. As you very well know, in middle school, we have 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. They're kind of stratified. 6th graders kind of stay together throughout the day, so it's 7th grade and 8th grade or so. The Healthy Relationships create activities kind of bring across integrations of all those grade levels in kind of a positive team buildings, talk about bullying, those kinds of things that help our climate and our culture become safe and responsible for folks. So that's just from the students' perspective. We also, our parents, they have a newsletter that goes out. This is one that they give out. We also have the Welcome Back Cookout at Stewart Park. You're invited September 16th to come to that. That's an opportunity for our staff to meet some of the parents of our students. And for our staff, we have icebreakers at the beginning of the year. Last week we had some great icebreakers, clock buddies, birthday buddies, and they made a chance to maintain those relationships throughout the course of the school year. We have interactive professional developments during that week based on the superintendent's, kind of lead. This year, our central thought for the year was leading with love, and so a lot of our professional developments around developing a caring and a compassionate community. So those are kind of the basic things. This is a package that we sent out to them. You can look at that with our staff for those particular meetings. And lastly, we have a relationship task group. Relationship task group is a group of staff who are committed to creating ongoing activities throughout the course of the year to bring staff together to build a positive climate and to break down some of the silos that can happen at the middle school level. All to say, this is one of the many ways, many other ways I can share with you. The best way for you to explore it is to visit it with, spend a day with us. Some of you have been in our building, and so we invite you. The doors are always open. Thank you.
Max, since we're on DeWitt, DeWitt's been a Circle of Courage school for quite a while, correct?
Way before I got here.
Right, and but obviously, or not obviously, the atmosphere has changed dramatically, anecdotally, and certainly I think we're seeing results of that. It sounds like you've gone way beyond what was done. You've gone way beyond what was done before. It certainly sounds like to me. I mean, my son went through DeWitt, and there really no. I don't remember or recall too many of these programs. Well, all right, any of these programs in play.
Well, certainly, Mr. Ainsley, the whole idea was to focus on what's best for students. And the best way to get at students is to build an atmosphere where it's about humane treatment and humane interactions, and that builds around, as I said before, relationships. The 3 R's of reading, writing, and arithmetic, as you very well know, is replaced with relationship, relevance, and rigor. And we really take the relationship piece of that very, very seriously. And the key element of that is communication, open and honest communication, because that's one of the key elements to create that. So we try to create certain things to make that happen.
Right, it certainly sounds like elementary level and middle school level, well, the punishment piece has changed fairly considerably. Right, so that certainly has changed. And Mary, I was going to ask you just to clarify your statement. What was it? It's
Discipline for learning.
There you go. As opposed to discipline for punishment. Right. Can you just expound on that a little bit? What does that mean?
Sure.
What does that look like? And then Mac, obviously, continue. Go ahead, Mac.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt.
No, Mac.
I like the terminology of discipline for learning, so yes.
Yeah, right, Mac. I had to get that again. I wanted to go back. I needed to hear that again. Go ahead, Mary. And then.
So I think our goal at Caroline is that after a child makes a poor choice, that they're able to articulate what they learned from that. So for example, if a child's engaging in unsafe behavior at recess, then traditionally they would lose recess. But we flip recess, so they go to lunch with other students that they normally wouldn't go to lunch with. So, and then they go outside for recess. So they're out of their cohort and they have an opportunity to spend some time reflecting on what they did. But they still move their body, because not having time to move their body for an elementary student would be a fix that would fail.
Sure.
They wouldn't be ready to learn after that. Does that help?
Oh, no, definitely. Yeah, I want to give you a chance to, talk about that a bit more.
Thank you.
But that leads to, well, elementary feeds into DeWitt.
It does. I think ours was kind of, by Shockey, he kind of put things in a very theoretical, formalized, philosophical context for us by calling cultural responsiveness. I think we make an assumption about people coming to our classroom that always operate from the same value system as we do, and it's totally a false assumption. So when people make choices, they're based on experience and based on value systems. So we have to recognize that there has to be some kind of learning, some kind of teachable process involved in that. And so without punishing them for a choice they made based on the value system or experience that they bring into the classroom. So that was kind of some of where it originated from, but not before Shockey came, I already was kind of wanted to implement that at DeWitt Middle School. I think, recognizing the different values, the different culture in a classroom any given day is what kind of leads to, removing some of the punishment that are based on choice and decisions students make, so that they can grow and learn and feel very positive about the interaction we have with them.
Thanks, Mike. Other questions? Well, right, go ahead.
Okay. I'm Diane Carruthers. I'm the principal at the Lehman Alternative Community School, and I'm quite honored to sit up here on this panel with these wonderful colleagues. And I can say as a parent whose children went through the school district, and now as a grandparent whose children are in this district, that we've come a long ways. And I'm just really proud of where we are today as a district. I'm really proud that we have a superintendent that talks about leading with love, and I know my staff really resonated with that. I think we all felt that way too. At LACS, we are celebrating our 40th year. Some of you came this summer when we had a midsummer celebration. And I mentioned that to point out that from the very beginning of our school, community is our middle name. So from the very beginning of our school, that's been an important piece of who we are and what we do. So everything wraps around this notion of community. And we also different in that we're a 6 through 12 school. And that's a beautiful thing, because our older students, one of them is sitting right here, recognize that they need to step it up and be role models to our younger students. So that's another piece of community building in our school. Adrian mentioned WHAM, which is the kind of the big sibling of FAD, welcoming allies and mentors, which has been in place in our school for several years now, and it's grown to be a really central piece of what we do. Kids really look forward to getting into high school when they're old enough to be a WHAM member and being a mentor to a younger student during that time. For about 25 years, our school has been a member of the Coalition of Essential Schools, and we frame our philosophy around 10 common principles that all coalition schools work with. And I pulled out 3 of them that I wanted to just highlight tonight for you that I think really speak to this idea of creating welcoming and caring communities. One of them is called the tone of, it talks about the tone of the school should stress values of trust, decency, and high expectations coupled with support. Another one is staff should expect multiple obligations and have a sense of commitment to the entire school. And what that means is that every adult who's hired to work at LACS comes in knowing that whether you're hired to be the math teacher or the secretary or the custodian, you're going to have, your role will be well beyond just that role. Your role will include, you'll have multiple roles in the school. You'll be a family group leader. Also, you may help lead a trip. You may help lead a project, and so on. So you're going to have many, many ways to get to know students besides in the role that you were hired in, and that's very important at our school. And finally, the 10th principle speaks to that the school should model democratic practices, honor diversity, and build on the strengths of its community, and explicitly challenge inequity. So it's very important. One of our key tenets at LACS, you may have heard about our all-school meetings, our family groups, and so on, that really, where democracy is key, where students and staff have not only equal voice, but equal responsibility. And actually coming off of our retreat this summer, the admin retreat, where we spent a lot of time talking about this notion of leading with love, our staff spent a lot of time at the beginning of this year examining that idea, and really the notion of relational trust, which is more than relationships and more than trust, this idea of this kind of interwoven structure of obligation that we want our children to learn and experience and feel in the school, that I am obligated to treat you with respect, and you are obligated to treat me the same way. So that idea is, we work with very much with our students in a lot of different ways. So some of the things that we do are included up here: the welcoming allies and mentors and the family groups. Those are not the thing itself. Those are things that we do that represent that are parts, or that grow from the philosophy of the school, that I think is very important, much like the circle of courage idea. So thank you. I really appreciate being able to tell you a little bit about the philosophy, and as everyone else here has said, really invite you to visit the school and spend some time there. Some of you have done that.
Thank you. Too often times we talk about programs, and you hear in the community, why don't we have a program like that over at this school, or why don't, and I think you're getting the sense, you can certainly hear in your questioning, that it isn't about the program. The programs are not standalone, or whether they've been rejuvenated or morphed to fit the building. We've got a proud mama back here, Miss New, when the IHS representatives were describing the link crew and the sense of community it builds around the high school. That's not so a standalone entity that's revolutionized the way the culture is at the high school. You think of all of our buildings and the heads of our households, thinks of buildings as households, really. And each household can be different and separate and individual, or has that collective belief and that value system that this is the culture and climate that we want. So when I go around to the different schools and see these things, and Matt and I compare notes on this quite often, as you hear these folks kind of hearing about longitudinally what this looks like, this is really a pretty neat exercise for us tonight to come and share that. But I want to echo our colleagues and thank them for their leadership in our buildings, and encourage you to come out and see it and feel it and live it. Eldred, we'll take your question for sure, and then I'll just go to the last slide. It speaks a little bit to where we're seeing what kind of success and how we're measuring these pieces and how we're collecting this on an ongoing basis. Yeah?
I feel like a kid again.
I didn't mean to cut you
Okay, Mary knows the key to my heart, right? You said the magic words that this is, although you've named it school culture, the first two pieces obviously are the quality of instruction, engagement, and hopefully curricular relevance. So can you talk a little bit to educate us and people who may not necessarily make that connection, but how does that actually play into all of the things that you guys just discussed?
That's a thoughtful question. So
I've been told I do that
I'll do my best to give a thoughtful response. So, ideally, a child would be able to answer two questions. What are you learning, and why are you learning it? No matter what they're engaged with. And what I think Caroline teachers are really being very thoughtful about right now is the work of their professional learning community. So how do we take a challenge or a next generation science standard and look at an interdisciplinary unit or design an interdisciplinary unit around that relevant learning that needs to happen for kids. And it's full, it's exhausting work, and it's worth it. And so that is something that I get to see Wednesday afternoons during professional learning communities, teachers engaged in these conversations and writing down what they hope to do the next day, what they hope students to learn, how they hope students to answer those two questions, and what instructional shifts are going to need to happen for kids to be able to answer that. Did I answer your question?
I think that's well on the track to the answer, yeah.
Thank you.
Ms. New, you want to?
Yeah, Eldred asked a question earlier about the implementation of DAS and other programs, and I just wanted to add, as a coordinator for Link Crew at the high school, the BOCES training that she's talking about, that upstanding training, we had Jennifer come in and give that to our 100 Link Crew leaders just the week before school started, and all different grades, 10 through 12 were there, and 100 students actually got that training that normally goes to adults. So that was a great kind of shift where normally it's adults giving that, and we had our leaders get that. So I think for them to be able to have that, and then when they work with their crews of the freshman class, 370 kids, they were able to kind of put that information right back out there.
Very cool.
Thank you, Maggie.
Yeah.
To conclude, when we talk about the data and how do we know we're seeing some results in the reality. And the first two indicators we've put out publicly a number of times. The administrative referrals are down almost 70% since 2000, and that's kindergarten through 12th grade. So you see the continuum reflected here. Suspensions down overall 69%. You've got a gentleman here who eliminated the ISS program altogether and reworked how education works around that piece. 20% reduction in OSS. And then when you go to our website under Your Voice, if you go into the menu tab on the far left-hand side, you go to the Your Voice survey, you'll see the results district-wide from parents, children, and staff members. And when you start seeing results of 85% of our families are saying they feel very comfortable, extremely comfortable sending their kids to school, that they know that they can call their teachers and get a response. They know they can call their principals and get a response. They feel welcome in their school buildings. We see all kinds of indicators throughout. That's changing the culture, and Diane referenced that just a moment ago. And the big piece that I wanted to conclude with, and you go back to board priorities that we worked on some time ago, all students feel connected to at least one of their teachers. As the quote-unquote secondary or one of the secondary folks sitting in the room, I'm hoping we can reopen that conversation, go beyond that connection to one teacher and really get it to all teacher. And Dr. Brown leading us this year with Love Works is, as you can see, has had a profound effect and really embraced where we want to take our district as an overall learning entity, organization, and culture. So we appreciate that. Very much appreciate the leaders coming out tonight and sharing some of the magic that they do in their buildings. And again, I want to encourage you to go out and feel that and see that. So thank you.
It was a real pleasure and frankly a treat to have you here from all of you. We don't often get a chance to have you come and talk to us, and we appreciate your time, and we won't take up any more of your time because you do have some great schools to run tomorrow and great kids coming to see you tomorrow. But it's just it's a real pleasure, and you all do a great job, and your colleagues like Joe's here and the other leaders throughout the district, you're all, the amount of work that you're doing together is obvious to us and hopefully obvious to the community, and I hope that the community was able to see some of what you are doing through this meeting tonight. But we'll get that word out there as well. Thanks again, and it's really a tremendous job, and we'll let you go.
I think Pat can fit that shirt.
I think other people than me can fit that shirt.
Well, if you want me to send me a size and hook you up next year.
That's got XLs. XLs.
Send me sizes. Make sure you get a whip.
So we have a bit more business before we wrap up, and there's a policy, Pat.
In your Dropbox, under policies, we have 4327R alternate instruction, or 4327 alternate instruction and 4327R alternate instruction. So I move both 4327 and 4327R for a second reading.
Second.
That was a tie between Chris and Judy Max.
Okay.
I appreciate both.
Pat, obviously we had a first reading, and was there anything that you all had to address?
We had a first reading. There was nothing that we were asked to address, and we have made no alterations to either of these documents. Both of these documents saw a very strong discussion within committee. Mr. Trumbull, Judy Hoffman had a great deal to contribute to both the policy and regulations. I don't know if there's any questions.
I'll leave that to the group. Jay, you have anything? Or, well, no, you're looking at it. I can't see anything right now. So. But it is up on our screen. Brad, anything?
No.
Anybody that is looking at it, are we good?
Is this, how are these two, well, the policy and then the procedure?
Regulation.
Compared to what we've had previously?
Did we have one?
Yeah, we had a way of doing things. I don't know if it was a policy, but this is how we did things.
So So what the previous policy addressed was that the district has the ability, the lawful obligation to provide alternate instruction to students on a medical leave as well as disciplinary leave. What it didn't do is help us define what a medical leave could or can be, or give us the operational authority to say, we're going to work with the healthcare provider to determine. I think of children that are suffering from concussions. We have children that miss a day up to 4, 5, 6 months. Highly subjective, and it enables us to work directly with the healthcare provider. The other piece that it does really nails down procedurally what it looks like when a child has to be removed from school for disciplinary reasons. It enables and informs families, the school building, as well as district offices and the alternative structure what their responsibility is. And that was an area that we needed some support and some direction in to inform all those parties. So those are the two distinguishing factors, what the medical looks like and the procedures around timeliness for the discipline piece.
And so, if we've now outlined this better so that people will know what their responsibilities are and what the timelines are, do you think this is going to get out there? I mean, how will this be, well, I don't know, publicized or communicated, or
well, it's
worry about that?
Am I worried about it? No, I'm actually encouraged by it that we have the banks of the river, so to speak, that it really helps define all those roles. Too oftentimes, as principal, if a child was suspended, I would say to a family, we hope to have somebody in place the next day. If it was a couple of days down the road, the family didn't know whether to call me. They weren't sure whether they call the registrar or the guidance counselor, so we were a little lost there. And then it does take some time to put an alternate instructor in place. And children are entitled up to 2 hours of education per day, so it really clarifies what that looks like. So typically it doesn't happen within the first 24 hours, within that 48-hour window, and then it clumps more than just the 2 hours regularly.
So, I appreciate that explanation, but do we feel we're going to meet these guidelines?
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussion about it. Yeah, I think they're fair. It also speaks to teachers that too oftentimes have sent work down and not heard whether or not it comes back in. So it really shores those pieces up to say, when do you send the work down, when does it come back, and what happens if you don't get those pieces. So
we've clarified what the expectations are, and so hopefully with everybody
now that we've got it in writing,
yeah,
we should have that consistent procedure supported by a consistent, well-crafted policy on both the ends, medical as well as disciplinary purposes.
So this might be a policy that will make a real difference.
Are you saying you're
well,
but yeah, this is a particularly useful policy.
It is, especially compared to what we had or didn't have previously.
Standard, as Mr. Trumbull says, standardization of procedure, clarification of expectations will help everyone. It will help parents, physicians, teachers, guidance counselors, administrators, and the students themselves to clarify what we can and cannot do under the policy. I'm rather proud of it.
I'm not really sure how anyone could possibly argue with that. So if no one else has any other questions, moved and seconded twice, all in favor? That's everyone, and that is that policy and regulations are in place. Thanks everyone, thanks for the policy. Any other board business by anyone?
So these were really well done. You didn't get a chance to talk about them?
Sure.
I don't know if you wanted to, or is that another meeting, or?
No, actually,
now,
it was, bullet 2 in the first slide on the code of conduct is, yes, we were required by law to produce a code of conduct. We feel confident that we've produced user-friendly, inviting documents that speak to inform families of what their rights are, what schools' roles and responsibilities are, how to reach out for help when anybody feels that they need help. So we feel like we have a working document that does serve as a reference. It also, in the hands of every educator in the district, points to typical, or I should say, barriers to transportation issues. So things that have historically been barriers for all student access to schools, we try to provide those framing pieces. So we hope it's inviting. I think the pictures say a lot about the culture and climate that we have here as well. But again, when you go through it, frequently asked questions is a big piece, but more purposeful in terms of what the cultures are that we're trying to foster in our schools.
How did you take the big fat documents, which seemed almost like legalese and rules, and get them down to this?
Pudgy.
That document still exists.
Yeah, it does.
All set, yeah, and what that is based, that's an amalgam of board policy, is what that is, and what our legal responsibilities are, but written in a very legal manner. So not user-friendly. So we had a couple committees this spring look at these and really dig into, and many of the folks that were mentioned, like Ms. Clement from Northeast and LSCS, worked actively on this to create a document that, again, is user-friendly.
So the idea of this is the highlights of the big fat document to be user-friendly for staff and students.
It complements, it complements the Board of Ed tab on the district webpage that does have all our policies written out the way that you just did the second reading. So, yeah.
Does everybody get one?
Every child in the district gets those. So I'll say the Trumbull household with 3 secondary children got 3.
And they were delivered prior to the school year?
Yes.
Okay. Very well. But annual basis, we do have to do the student code of conduct, right?
Yes.
That is requirement, and that is always has to be completed.
Judy asked a question. You have to pass the district safety plan, which we anticipate bringing to you during the winter.
Right. Which incorporates the code of conduct.
Yes.
Right. Been there, done that. Okay, good. Anything else? Thank you, Jason. Very helpful, very good. And anything we've got, there's committee meetings as always. We can see them on your schedule. And Pat?
I'll just announce that the policy meeting that was originally scheduled for this Thursday, the 11th, has been moved to next Monday, September 15th at 5 p.m. I believe we're going to be discussing the presence of animals, the humane use of animals, and dissection policy, among others.
You're dissecting puppies and kitties? Is that what we're doing now?
We're going to prohibit the dissection of puppies and kitties, and we'll make no vote about it. But
Policy committee seems to be changing their committee times fairly routinely, but as long as you tell everybody what's going on.
This time it wasn't my call. So.
Okay. And you see other upcoming events, and we're on public. Brad, we're still on for a public hearing on the 23rd, correct?
Correct.
Yep. At 6:30 regarding a possible proposed sales tax on utility services. That is next September 23rd. That is a Tuesday. It'll be 6:30 prior to our public hearing before the public meeting, if that's at all confusing to you. But it is 6:30, Tuesday the 23rd. It's an idea and process, and certainly not, and we want to hear from the public regarding that possibility. And so that would be 6:30 for as long as we need to for folks signing up. Normal.
That relates back to Chris's comments earlier about the gap elimination adjustment. I'll just beat it again. We've got to look for some way to make up $2.8 million if the gap elimination stays in there. So we hate to do this, but we want to have the ability to, if our state legislators can't see their way clear to fully fund state aid.
I appreciate that. Have a public hearing, then there'll be more discussion at the board level after the public hearing, which is required. So that's in a couple weeks, and we have obviously a board meeting after that, and we will start that.
There's also a fact sheet on the utility tax that's available on a hard copy outside for anybody here and anybody watching at home. It's available on the website, and if you go to the latest Insider, it's a full page in the Insider.
Very good. Thanks, Daniel. Anything else? Without objection, I believe we're moved, seconded, and we're all done.
Great.
Thanks, everybody.